I mean, he caveated his remarks so that he wasn't departing from the official government line, which is that Ukraine makes the calls here. When Ukraine's ready, then Ukraine may negotiate. But the fact that that comment will be taken out of context, and people will say that Rishi Sunak believes that there has to be a negotiation. So at what point are we going to lean on the Ukrainians to negotiate? And I think that in Kiev, I think they won't welcome the fact that he said it. It's just not true that all wars end at the negotiating table.
But it's a line we've heard from the beginning, right from the start.
People should read a book occasionally. The Second World War did not end in negotiation.
One of yours, perhaps.
Yes.
No, sorry.
The First World War did not end in a meaningful negotiation. The Sri Lankan War against the Tamils did not end in negotiation. The war in Indochina after America left did not end in negotiation. The withdrawal of Britain and America from Afghanistan was subject to negotiation in Doha, and then those negotiations were ignored, and we were defeated in Afghanistan. We just left because we couldn't stay any longer. Lots of wars do not end in negotiations. Some wars end because one side wins. Now, it is quite likely, many wars end in negotiation. It's quite likely that this struggle, which is intergenerational, will go on for a very long time. It may or may not end in negotiation. But it's possible that a ceasefire will be negotiated. That's fine. And that may be plausible in the next year, say, a ceasefire. And it will be a pretty unstable ceasefire if we get it. But to say all wars end in negotiation is just historically untrue, and it's not very helpful at this stage. And as I say, I don't think they'll welcome hearing that in Kiev, even with all the caveats he put around it.
OK, well, let's talk about the war and what's happening at the moment. We had that massive missile strike across the country yesterday. We've had more information about it. What have we been told?
Yes, I mean, missile strikes all around the country. This is the 15th since the 10th of October. This is when they began, 10th of October. So this is the 15th nationwide strike in which they cover lots of targets around the country with, up to 100 missiles and drones. And we now got some quite good figures, which the Ukrainian Air Force has produced and which have been verified, generally speaking, from the outside, as to what missiles were used. And these were the KH-101 and the KH-553. These are cruise missiles, 28 of them, 20 caliber cruise missiles, 6 X-22 missiles. Now, that's quite interesting. Those top three categories are all cruise missiles. They're big. Most of them are anti-ship missiles. So they've got warheads of half a ton or a ton, designed against aircraft carriers. And they're using these very big, huge missiles against quite small targets, electricity substations and water treatment plants. So they're using stuff that they haven't got the right missiles. And then the next three categories, the Kinzhal is the hypersonic missile, the X-31 and the S-300. Those are very fast they're called SEAD, suppression of enemy air defence missiles. So they're to attack the air defences. They're really quick. And then there were some drones. Now, if we look at those things, the fact is that the Ukrainians might have been able to shoot down the top three categories. In those top three categories, 20, 28 and 6 is 34. And the Ukrainians seem to have got, 54, beg your pardon. The Ukrainians seem to have got about 38 of them. And so they got about 38 out of 54. That's not bad. But of the whole number, the 81 plus the Shahed, the 8 drones, they didn't do so well. And the fact is they got quite a number of those they could chase. But some of those, the last four categories, forget the Shaheeds for a moment, the last three categories, Kinzhal, the X-31 and the S-300, they'd never get them.
Are they all supersonic, aren't they?
They can be, yes. The Kinzhal certainly is. That's 10 times the speed of sound. The others can be supersonic. And because of the air defence, the S-300s are air defence, they're very quick. And so with what they've got at the moment, the Ukrainians can't shoot them down until they get Patriot batteries, which they are going to get at some point in the future. So looking at this, it tells us quite a lot. The Ukrainians are doing all they can, but it's not enough. And the Russians are pulling out lots of different sorts of missile. This was quite an effective attack from their point of view. So they're pulling out lots of different sorts of missile in order to hit Ukraine. That was the most effective hit 2 nights ago that they've had since the beginning. Okay. And it's because they're actually dipping deep into their stocks to get it.
We're going to have to leave it there. Professor Michael Clarke, thank you very much.